Hey guys, so welcome to my first book review here on the tube. So the first book that I started reading last year was Stephen King's Sleeping Beauties, and as you can see it is basically two books in one. It's a very big book to read and it is made up of two parts, which is quite common for a Stephen King novel. So this book is called Sleeping Beauties. It's written by Stephen King and Owen King as well. So it's co-written, and wow, what a fantastic read. I have published a blog post review about this book, and yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10 stars. I would give it a 10 star, but there was bits at the end that I wasn't entirely sure on, and I felt like, as immersive as it was, I think it built up to an ending and it fizzled out a little bit. But that is absolutely not in a bad way at all. That is just my personal criticism, and like I said in my blog post review, even though Stephen King is a legendary horror writer, I still look at every book with a fresh pair of eyes. So this book is about essentially a virus that spreads, but it's only for women. And yes, it only affects women, and it means that if women go to sleep, basically due to this virus that's surrounding the city, they don't wake up, and cocoons start to come around their body. It's like white strands start to come around their body, create like a protective cocoon around them, and if you cut into the cocoon, the women become rabid and will basically kill you. So it's, yeah, it's very interesting, it's very enticing, and it is a very awesome storyline, very awesome concept, and I can really see this being made into a film. In fact, I don't know why it isn't a film, because I think it would be absolutely fantastic to watch. This hooked me from the start, but I won't lie, it was quite intimidating. It took me a few times to keep going back and going, right, okay, so Frank is this guy, but Cliff is this guy, and X, Y, and Z basically. There are a lot of different characters in this book, and each of them are equally important. There are many main protagonists, and yeah, they all have an equal part in it. So it's not just like one main character who, yeah, they're the only person you really need to worry about. There are so many characters in this book. Each of them have their own story, their own background, and it can be really hard to acknowledge and then keep that in the corners of your mind ready to come back. But it is a subconscious thing that we do, just like when we watch films, except we're making up the visuals in our own mind. So yes, after a few chapters I started to understand who people were, what role in the story they had to play, and obviously as the book went on, their characters and their story developed, and then everything started to come together. Everything made a lot of sense, and yeah, it was just a very enticing read. I couldn't predict the end, which I think is an amazing, which means that the book is written very well, because usually you can predict books endings or a film endings, and personally when it comes to horror I am so critical of the ending, and I think that if you've got an incredible film but then the ending doesn't come up, it just ruins the whole film. So I was anticipating not much, if I'm honest. I didn't quite know what to expect for the end of the book, and yeah, I feel like it was basically one big build-up to an ending that fell quite flat. But I'll show you quickly. So we get to page 713, which is essentially the last page, and I was like, right, okay, but then there's a little sort of following of a character, last page of the book, and this extract made the ending for me. If it wasn't there, I would probably be slightly disappointed. But that ending made me go, okay, I'm done, I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm fine. So yeah, I have been reading this book. I know a lot of you booktubers out there are going to be like, are you kidding me? But this is a non-judgmental space, so yeah. Last year I became a carer and it was a very, very, very difficult year. And for the first half of the year I literally was hooked to this book, read it really fast, and then things got really hard. I started to lose motivation, concentration, and I also started writing a novel as well in November. So I changed from reading to actually writing, and I was that inspired by this book that writing just sprung upon me, and for National Novel Writing Month I just excelled, if I say so myself. So yes, it took me about 6 months to read this book, but it would have taken me a lot less if I had just sat down and read it, and really just, you know. So when I restarted this book in January, I was about that much through, so I had that much left. So essentially it's kind of the same length as a book that I'm currently reading, so it's almost like one book in itself. And I read that in one day. So yes, when I can sit down and actually read, I really do read fast. So this book has taken up quite a lot of my time, and I'm quite happy to say that it has as well, because I've really enjoyed it. It's a really good read. It's very well written, and Stephen King is a complete legend. Yeah, I haven't done a book review before, so I don't want to give much away, but I certainly recommend this book to those of you who enjoy longer reads and also enjoy horror books as well. It can be quite graphic in some areas, so just slight disclaimer there. It is quite a unique story, but aren't all Stephen King novels. Yeah, it's quite emotive as well, and it does sort of pull at your heartstrings as well at some points in the story too. But yeah, overall it is quite a heavy but refreshing read, if that makes sense. It is a great book to read, and it is definitely one to write home about, as the phrase goes. I keep talking about this to my brothers, my friends, my family, and I'm probably annoying them, but I don't care because it's a really good read, and I'm very proud of myself for getting through all of that. It's absolutely massive. I know some of you are like, that is nothing, Lou, but for me it is, and I'm very proud. So yes, if you would like a bit of a more detailed blog review where I'm not worrying about my camera going out of battery, which it is right now, then yeah, I've got my blog post below, and yes, it's a great book and I hope that you enjoy. Thank you so much. Mwah.